Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Sahara Omar. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist practicing here in the state of Texas. And today's video is a continuation of the work that we're doing in this channel and help you guys differentiate the difference between dealing with immature people or inherently evil or a bad person. And I would close out with how do we challenge ourselves when we're dealing with different types of people in your life, so that way you can protect your healing journey and become a better version of yourself as well. Okay, so this type of separation falls under the category what we call relational dysfunction types. Okay, there's different types of dysfunction. There's individual based dysfunction and there is relational type dysfunctions, and this one is all about how you relate to other people and the relationships that you have with people. Even I've noticed the struggle of these separation whenever I work with couples and families, and even on individual level at times. We gotta learn how to differentiate the two types of dysfunction. And also when I work with up and coming therapists, because I'm also a teacher on the side, I'm a professor part-time, the clinicians also struggle with, the new therapists also struggle to separate, noticing the different types of behaviors that is being presented in the therapy room as well. Okay, so the first type is called immature, or like, how do you know if you're dealing with just simply somebody who is developmentally stunted or just immature in their nature? Here are some of the traits that you will see consistently. Typically, they act out very impulsively without thinking of any of the consequences. For example, they'll spend extra money for things that they don't need. They'll overeat, for example, hang out with the wrong crowds. Like, those are all types of impulsive action without thinking through the consequences. Sometimes they also struggle with emotionally regulating themselves, like a lot of anger outbursts, jealousy, frustration. Sometimes they can throw tantrums as adults, like yelling. Another trait is they avoid responsibility, or they find themselves blaming other people when things are going wrong. They don't know how to take full accountability and say, you know what, you're right, I should have taken the trash out, for example. Instead, they will say things like, why do I have to be the one who always takes the trash out, right? So they will throw those jabs and blame other people. They can also be very selfish at times, only thinking about themselves and not considering other people. But it's not an intentional act. It's more of like recklessness, right? Like, so they don't even consider the people around them. Another trait is they have difficulty with empathy, like feeling the emotions in the moment. But later, when they slow down or somebody slows them down or tries to hold them accountable, for example, in the therapy room, they will show that empathy. It will come through, and they do care about their partner. They don't want to hurt their partner. And then another trait that is very predominant in immature people is they sometimes want to learn. Sometimes they want to grow with people. They care about the people around them. They're just so reckless, right? Like, they show up like immature again. But also, if you give them a feedback in the clinical space, they're very willing to sit with it and reflect. And eventually they can mature in that space with their partner. Okay, so the best way that I like to describe an immature person is like you're dealing with a little kid. That's why I use this picture of a kid. Like, their behavior is like a child. Like, they yell, they throw tantrums. If you hold them accountable, they'll blame other people, etc. And then eventually, when you tell them like, hey, this is so harmful, I don't want to do this anymore, they are capable of slowing down and reflecting. Okay. Now, the opposite of that is somebody who's inherently bad, right? So inherently evil. The clinical space, we don't use those words directly, but use things like harmful person or intentionally harming people, right? But I like this words personally because it hits to the core and it helps people wake up from the illusion that they carry at times that this person is a good person, or there is hope to reconcile with them or maybe build something new with them as well. Okay, so these words, when I call somebody bad or evil, is literally to wake you up from the fantasy that we create sometimes with people. Okay, so here are the main traits. Number one is they are intentional. Okay, intentional means on purpose, right? So they will cross boundaries. They're very manipulative. They will put you in predicaments where they exploit you. Exploitation is taking advantage of someone. They'll exploit you for your time sometimes, just wasting your time. Sometimes they will exploit your money on purpose, like just take money from you and put you into debt. Sometimes they will exploit your body and put you in predicaments that you cannot say no to. And they will harm people. Another trait is they show little to no genuine remorse or even accountability. Even in the therapy room, when their partner says this, you hurt me when you said this and this and that, or you hurt me when you did X, Y, and Z, they will find a way to just flip it back on their partner and say, well, you did this 2009, or you don't care about me here. And even when I slow them down and I say, but do you see how that is harmful? They'll be like, well, they did the same to me, right? So I can't even get through them personally when I'm doing the work with them. Also, another trait is they can understand pain. They know that people are hurting at times. They just don't care. And I had clients that will look into my face and will tell me, I just don't care. And it feels very scary at times, or even like shocking in the room to see another human being not have that level of remorse. That's why I like to use those words like bad or evil, because it's just there's something dark about it. And even in the word in the clinical space, sometimes it falls under the category called dark psychology. Just very, I just don't care. That's the word that they will say to anybody to their face as well. Another trait is they had a repeated pattern, right? So in the clinical space, we focus mostly on pattern, like the pattern, how long it's been there, the history of it. Also, was there any behavior that was disrupting this pattern, or has it been consistent for a long time as well? So they have a repeated pattern of violating boundaries and people's rights, right? So they have no consideration. Sometimes people who fall into this category will have a history of arrest, where they've been arrested multiple times. Again, they just do not care for people's rights, and they cross boundaries left and right. They often are very deceptive, very calculated with their behavior. I had a client a while back. He said, in my brain, I have a roster of everybody, and they're ticking anything that triggers them, that ticks them into a version of them that can serve me personally. So I looked at him and I was like, well, you're talking about this is like manipulative behavior. And he was like, yeah, sure. You can call it manipulation, but I think it's very helpful. So that's the word, deceptive, right? Like on purpose, flipping script, lying, withholding information, causing harm. And they are aware. That's another thing too. A lot of clients who are dealing with people who are very bad or evil, the biggest struggle is, does this person even know what they're doing is harmful? And the answer is yes, they do know what they're doing is harmful. They just don't care, right? And then the last trait here is that they have limited empathy, sometimes no empathy as well too. And they just, again, they just do not care. I don't know how else to describe it other than that, right? Like there is no level of awareness that says other people around you matter. Other people around you are human. Please be respectful and kind towards others. Now, so a couple of things I want to also highlight. In the clinical space, a lot of clients come in and they say, my partner is narcissistic, or I've dated, or my husband is a psychopath or sociopath, right? Those are clinical words. I usually challenge people and say, leave those words for the clinical space only, meaning the person has to be in front of us and they have to disclose to us that they do have some of these traits. And then we can assess, and then we can give them the label. But we cannot just walk around and quickly label people, this person is narcissistic or this person is a psychopath, without having a strong diagnosis and a pattern that is being diagnosed from a clinical or licensed clinician as well too, okay? So that's what I recommend usually. These words are a little bit more better words to use, because it makes you not just going around and labeling people. So I personally prefer, like, for example, when I work with individuals who are either ending a relationship or in a dysfunctional relationship, I personally will call them out and say, like, this is immature behavior, or you're being immature right now. Or if they are being blatantly, intentionally harmful, I will let them know personally, this is evil behavior, this is bad behavior, this is harmful behavior. Just to label things for what it is rather than just labeling a person with a personality disorder and then we can't do much with it, right? I always remind clients also, we're all about changing behavior in the therapy space. We're not just in the space of just labeling problems, right? So we want to also teach people how to overcome some of these difficult behaviors. Now, with that being said, there's another thing that I wanted to add, which is when you are dealing with an immature person, the best way to overcome dealing with immature people is you gotta set your boundaries, okay? If you are still new into this channel or you haven't had the opportunity to look at the boundary video, I highly recommend go back and watch that video because it will help you recognize the 7 types of boundaries whenever you're dealing with a human being and just set the boundaries. With immature people, I'm a lot more hopeful doing work with them because they can outgrow the immaturity, right? Like they can recognize, hey, this is not okay behavior and I can do better. Now, if you're in a relationship with family members, parents, significant other, even friends or co-workers who are inherently bad or inherently evil, these are people that you just need to leave alone, right? So you can set your boundaries with them, but they have no regard for boundaries, right? So they are completely will violate those boundaries over and over again. So when people violate your boundaries and they're not taking any accountability, at some point you gotta give yourself permission to walk away from those connections. And it comes with a lot of heartache. It comes with a lot of grief. This is why it's important to be in therapy and have somebody that you feel safe with to walk with you in that separation experience. Because it's not easy to leave your family behind. It's not easy to leave friends behind. It's a lot. It comes with a lot of emotional distress. And sometimes this is where people would spiral and find themselves at a hospital and all of that is because of that separation can feel overwhelming psychologically. So that's what I recommend. With immature people, you can set boundaries and work with them as long as there is a room for that. But with people who are intentionally harmful, you gotta protect yourself from them as well. Okay? Alrighty. I hope you guys liked the video. Please feel free to hit that thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you encountered immature people versus bad people. And also, what are your thoughts on this video in general? I would love to hear you guys' feedback on it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.